It was a bitterly cold November 22nd back in 2003 when the National Hockey League staged its first ever regular season outdoor game, the Heritage Classic. Hi, I'm Chris May, host of This Day in Weather History, a podcast from the Weather Network in Canada. Today's episode has an accompanying podcast video short that you can see right now at theweathernetwork.com/weather history. Check it out there or on the Weather Network on television. You are going to love today's video. Live from Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, Alberta, home of the 14-time Grey Cup champion Edmonton Eskimos, this first-time event featured two of Canada's most legendary dynastic teams, the Edmonton Oilers versus the Montreal Canadiens. This day in weather history. This game was a long time in the planning and scheming stages and was finally agreed upon and staged to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the Edmonton Oilers joining the NHL from the WHA back in 1979, as well as the 20th anniversary of their first Stanley Cup win in 1984 that started a dynasty. And because it featured a hockey god named Wayne Gretzky, it was destined to happen for all of these reasons. The Great One changed the way the game was played on both ends of the ice. It changed the way player development was looked at, as it was really the NHL's first foray into the skill and finesse player instead of the Nash and grinders that came before. But let it be known, you had to be tough as nails to play in the conditions that they played in on this night. Edmonton's Commonwealth Stadium was stuffed to the rafters with a sold-out crowd of 57,167. It was an incredible sight to see the CFL's biggest outdoor stadium filled to capacity, but the fans were obscured by all the telltale silvery white haze that covered the seating area. What was it? It was 57,167 people's breath. Why? The temperature was at one point a mind-numbing minus 18 degrees Celsius, that's 0 degrees Fahrenheit, with a wind chill that made it feel closer to minus 30, and in Fahrenheit that would be minus 22. So, just who in their right mind would subject themselves to conditions like this when you could easily have stayed at home and watched it in high definition? By the way, this was the first NHL game broadcast in HD on the CBC, a modern-day staple, of course, by today's standards. The answer? Tons of people wanted to be there. First of all, season ticket holders were guaranteed seats and had the right to purchase more tickets before they went on sale to the public, and they scooped up over 15,000 seasons tickets to have that right, the highest number in club history. So, after all that got sorted out, there were 7,000 tickets left for the general public, and as a result, a lottery had to be held to determine who would buy the remaining seats. The Oilers selected 1,750 winners who could each buy 4 tickets. There were a total of 750,000 people who entered the lottery for the chance to be at this event. Had that happened, that equates to a demand of 3 million tickets. That's greater than the population of Edmonton and Calgary, at least back then. Now, they know how cold Edmonton is on a good day this late in the season, and still 3 million said, sure, I'll freeze, but it's so worth it for this. They had ticket lottery winners from as far away as Alaska and England. I'm going to just assume that the winners from Fairbanks were looking for someplace warm to get away to. There was an opening act, and I feel that it was a major reason why this ticket was as scorching hot as it was. It was called the Megastars game, and it featured the biggest names in modern Montreal Canadiens legend against the only ever Edmonton Oilers dynasty. So for this one-time event, you had the likes back together again for the first time of Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Paul Coffey, Jari Kurri, and so many others, taking on Guy Lafleur, Larry Robinson, and several other major names from the Cup teams of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It was such a major enticement to be in this game that Mark Messier, who was still an active player in the NHL at the time, asked for and received special permission to be a part of this exhibition event. The actual regular season game featured the classic and enduring image of Jose Theodore, goalie for the Montreal Canadiens, playing the game with a team-logoed toque attached to his face mask helmet, completing the throwback heritage image that teams who have taken part in subsequent outdoor games have replicated ever since. And it happened in all its splendor and glory this day in weather history. Tomorrow is November 23rd, and it's going to be a tough listen, so stay strong and follow on. You put your kids on school buses, and you rarely think twice about what happens next. Tomorrow in weather history started out as a typical Monday morning for kids in North Carolina. As school buses hit the road for their morning pickups, drivers, parents, and likely the kids were unaware that a series of tornadoes was approaching. We'll tell you what happened tomorrow on This Day in Weather History with me, your host, Chris May.